Aquaman is hitting theaters soon, but does it sink or swim? We'll let you know here on Screen Junkies News. I'm Dan Murrell. That was really the obvious pun.
It was a great pun. And you know what, Dan? I'm Roth Cornet, and I'm going to ask you your overall, does it sink, does it swim?
I feel like I'm a little bit at a disadvantage here because you got the chance to see it a few days ago. Mm-hmm. I have had about 45 minutes to think about this movie, and I don't even know what to say. I got to be honest with you. This thing throws so much at you.
It's a lot of movie.
It's a lot of movie. You're going to get your money's worth as
Yeah.
far as like buying amount of movie because it is so much. I'm trying to piece together through everything.
Yeah.
We'll get to it by the end, I guess,
Yeah.
but it is certainly not what I would call a streamlined movie.
No. So I will say this, I did see it prior, and I walked out of the movie and people said, did you love it? Did you hate it? I said, I somethinged it, and I'm not sure what yet.
Yeah.
Because the truth is I don't know what to make of Aquaman. And I will tell you the truth, Dan, these many days later, I still a little bit feel the same. This is a movie that for me, you know, our colleague described it as from the trailers, it looks like 7 movies in a video game. Mm-hmm. Not too far from the truth.
Yeah.
I think that let's start with the good. And I think
Sure.
we're seeing the good, or we were seeing the good. Look, superhero movies, and we've talked about this a lot, this is the modern mythology, this is the mythos of our day, things like that. Well, Aquaman has somehow gone full circle, and it's kind of Clash of the Titans,
Yeah.
which makes sense because of where Aquaman is derived from,
Sure.
Atlantis and myth, and Wonder Woman the same thing. But it fully comes full circle, and it's essentially Clash of the Titans, full of mythic creatures and gods and monsters, and in the veil of a superhero movie, which is weird because it is not structured at all like a traditional superhero movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to end with it is not structured at all.
Well,
But you're right. It's not structured at all like a superhero movie.
It's not structured at all like a superhero movie. So in that way, here's what I applaud about it. It's audacious.
Yeah.
It in the first 10 minutes of the movie, there's a move on Jason Momoa's, but this spoils nothing, I promise you, where the score that is the Aquaman score rises up and Jason Momoa practically looks right at the camera in the middle of this epic scene, and it tells you what kind of a movie this is. It's not taking itself too seriously. It is larger than life. It's taking the piss out just a little bit, and that continues throughout. But at the same time, underneath that thread is these interfamily, high stakes, royal throne, mythic kind of relic scope movie. And it's so much movie and so much lore thrown at you.
Literally, and not directly through talking. That was the exposition in this movie is definitely talking. There are so many scenes of people just saying like, "Do you not know the legend of blah blah blah?" Legend says, but then we're also like, they'll talk about backstory, they'll talk about what happened, they'll remind you every once in a while, like, remember that thing we mentioned before? We're back to this thing. There's an hour and 45-minute movie inside this 2 hour and 25-minute movie that is, I think, a great introduction to Atlantis and a great introduction to the character of Aquaman, his quest, his flaws, his journey. It's there somewhere. But there's another 40 minutes banging around different pieces of this movie that doesn't really belong there. It's not really consequential to the overall movie in any way, other than, I guess, to set up more movies. And that's my biggest thing with this, which I won't start with the negative necessarily. Jason Momoa is good. I agree with you. When the first big action sequence we get with him, he is very Jason Momoa and very Aquaman. I felt like that personality got sucked out of him as the movie went because he was a captive to the plot.
Yeah.
But I like him as Aquaman. The acting I generally have very little qualms with. It was generally good to to neutral. Nobody was really bad.
No one was bad. Jason Momoa is very, very charming. I think that Patrick Wilson as Orm, the Ocean Master, stands in as a very pointedly sharp contradiction to Jason Momoa's mannerisms, and that works well together. They contrast each other as these, as you know, half brothers that are now embattled. And that I think works. There's a number. The dynamic I think between he and Amber Heard works. It's colorful.
The spectacle
is fabulous.
No qualms.
Yeah.
This movie looks incredible.
Looks great.
I would say easily the best looking of the DC films we've seen so far.
Look at this world. I mean, if you're just interested in being sucked into sort of vivid other worlds, the Atlantis itself is fascinating. It looks great.
Yes.
Look, they're riding sharks and underwater monsters, and they have these crazy abilities, which does beg the question, why aren't you running the world now?
Yeah.
Because you're so much more powerful? Why haven't you already invaded the surface? But sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that's incredibly enjoyable and fun to watch about this movie. There's two villains, which I think
doesn't help
in terms of streamlining the plot. Both are great actually, but they didn't both necessarily need to be here.
No. 100% did not need to be there. That's where it fell apart is for me in a lot of places was every time the movie stops to take a breath, it's just so something can suddenly explode.
Yeah.
And then like somebody jumps in. And it's not me being like that's literally what the movie does. Just while you're watching the movie, if it ever stops and just allows for a moment to breathe, it is literally interrupted by an explosion.
And do you want to know what that pacing is similar to, Dan?
What's that?
Jump scares.
It is because you can see James Wan's
really
horror
can.
roots in this movie, but I love his vision on this movie. His vision and the vision of all the artists and designers behind it. Yeah. That is fantastic. I mean, I don't. When I heard he was directing this film, I did not expect. We've never seen anything like this from James Wan before. It is a gorgeous movie. Yeah. Saw it in IMAX. I would recommend it in IMAX. Most of the movie is in IMAX, and it looks incredible. If you're going for the spectacle of it, you're going to get your money's worth.
Absolutely.
And I didn't hate this movie. I just don't think I liked it that much. And it's all down to how many times can you make the same mistake? For me,
let's ask humanity at large that question.
It's not
probably a lot.
That's true. But it's not just, this has shades of, I think, what plagued Batman v Superman. This movie has what I think plagued Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The second one, Crimes of Grindelwald, there is so much jammed into this movie that the story, the characters, everything that you can really connect to, or at least that I connect to as an audience member, is completely pushed to the back.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. I don't understand why this movie had to be 2 hours and 25 minutes, and I don't understand why they had to put everything into this movie that they did, because it completely dilutes everything. Like 5 battle sequences are cool.
Yeah.
10 are pretty cool. Once you get to 15 or so,
it's
too much. It becomes overwhelming. Cotton candy's great, but if you have cotton candy for every meal, you're going to get sick to your stomach, and that's what I felt with this movie.
I'm going to compare it to another movie that we just recently reviewed, and that's Bumblebee. And the difference is Bumblebee is the most stripped down version of a Transformers movie that we've seen to date.
Yeah.
It's incredibly focused on 2 characters, really, with a couple of side characters that are given some attention as well.
Right.
And that means we're very, very invested in their story. If Aquaman had trusted that we would be interested enough in the evolution of this man into what he is meant to become, and his own resistance and challenges around that, and his relationship with his brother, we could have had a deeper experience with both of them. We could have had a deeper experience of that relationship with him and this mentor to them both, and maybe how conflicted he would be about choosing sides. And then we have Mira come in as well. And of course you have to have an inciting incident, so sure, Orm wants to go to the surface, and Aquaman is a part of both worlds, so he wants to protect both worlds.
Yeah.
The problem is, you're right, in the midst of that, because I think they want to check so many boxes, there's so many characters introduced that we get a little bit, those core stories get a little bit fragmented and lost. We can't go as deep with them. We don't come out of this movie at all feeling like we have a connection, a kind of depth of emotional connection with the characters, or a depth of emotional connection with the story. But what you do come out with, and it is too many battle sequences, but what you do come out with is, it is fun to watch. It is a popcorn movie in its purest form. It is very, very silly. And I think in moments.
At times, but at other times not.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
in this sense, I mean, I sometimes I think it means to be very silly, and I really think it's pointedly so. It's silly in a good way, meaning it's enjoying itself. It's unabashedly being itself. It's enjoying being an Aquaman movie. In moments, it takes itself a little seriously, but there are moments where a character will say, be in the middle of a battle and then come out in a dress. When did she change? I wonder. When I see something like that happen. Or
when there's Amber Heard's character is named Mira or Mara, depending on which character is saying her name at the time. It doesn't matter.
There are things like that are just sort of silly and funny. I don't think that this hits it out of the park in terms of what the DCEU wants to represent itself as. But I do think it's a lot closer.
It's closer. It is much closer.
And much more fun to watch.
Yes. I mean, if I were to give my personal rankings, I would probably rank this second, but that's not really it's not really a compliment to this movie in the sense of like, it is so far below for me Wonder Woman, which I love. And I think that movie stands on its own as a complete story. And I thought they did great character work in that. This is sort of the top of the rest of the pack. And a lot of people will probably love this movie.
Yes, a lot.
I get it. Aquaman will probably be the best constructed, best looking movie that I won't recommend of this year. And it's not even, you know what? I'm not even going to say I'm not going to recommend it. It wasn't for me. But I admire a lot about this movie.
I think a lot of people, to your point, are going to love this movie. I think that they're going to have a great time watching it and come out of the theater feeling a sense of joy and wonder, and that they visited this crazy world. I think it's an insane movie, and I mean that in a good way. But I think that it does have... And if you love this movie, that's fine. The critiques around it aren't taking away from the experience of pleasure that you might have had watching it.
If you go into this and you get swept away with the action, you get swept away with the adventure, and you come out of it saying like, wow, that was a good time, I'm not going to begrudge you that. I know a lot of people, when we give reviews like this, they'll say like, why can't you just do that? I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't make myself not me. I can't make my brain not my brain, and I can't make myself ignore things that truly are issues for me. But that's, that's just part of the game. There's a lot to love about this movie. I just didn't love the movie.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's got structural problems. It's over full. It feels disjointed. It does feel and ironically enough, for as quickly as it's moving, it does start to feel its length a little bit. And I think the reason that it feels its length, and you raised a very good point around that, is that a lot of the fight and battle sequences are repeats of ones that we've already seen. And that's when it starts to feel like it's dragging. Ironically enough, because it's a very fast-paced movie, but it feels like it's dragging because, I've seen you guys fight already.
Around the 12th big action set piece, I started kind of going like, okay,
let's move it along.
What else do we have here? Because not because it was poorly designed or anything. It's just that after a while, it's too much, and you start to lose the ball a little bit.
It becomes information overload, and it becomes kind of oversaturation. But there are some stunning sequences in this movie, including some really cool kind of like creature design.
Definitely.
Very cool creatures, very cool world building in the movie, and I like Jason Momoa a lot as Aquaman. So there's a ton to applaud and celebrate about the film. I can understand I would recommend it if you go in with those caveats of this is really a popcorn movie that is truly about the experience of banana spectacle. And it is fully unabashedly that, is committed to being that. But if you're looking for a very clear, structured character arc story, I don't think that's there. It's 7 movies in a video game.
It is. It really is. And, I mean, take from this what you will. We're just giving our thoughts here. So I'm not even going to recommend it or not recommend it. I'm just going to say it wasn't quite my speed, but there's a lot that I liked in there. Roth recommendation with some caveats.
Yeah, with the caveats of I do not think this is a perfect movie. I do think it's an insane movie that you might enjoy watching.
And I think this will be a hotly debated movie.
It's going to be one of the ones.
This is going to be one of those ones. So strap in, because we're going to be talking about Aquaman
all year
for a very long time.
It's going to be one of our most divisive movies. Divisive. Some people don't like how I say that. Movies of the year. It's the Queen's English, for the love of God.
Divisive.
It's divisive. Yeah, I think it's going to be highly debated. So we welcome you guys to leave your opinions nicely to each other and with us. These are just our opinions.
Yeah. And if you disagree with us,
that's okay.
Maybe wait till you see the movie to comment on.
And even then, that's okay.
Let's just have a good talk.
Yeah.
Good talk, Roth.
Good talk, Dan.
And good talk with you. That's our review of Aquaman. When you see it, let us know what you think in the comments below. And stay tuned. As we've said, this is Review-a-Palooza week here on Screen Junkies News. So many more coming your way this week and next week and all the other weeks to come.
So many more movies, and some of them really good.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.